The donkey walked straight into lion territory and came back alive. Not only alive, the lion ran away first. Everyone in the village was shocked. How could the weakest animal defeat the king of the jungle? And the real reason had nothing to do with strength. It was because the donkey did something most humans fail to do when life attacks them. He stayed calm. And what happened that day carries a powerful lesson about fear, confidence, and control. In a small village near a vast forest, there lived a donkey named Kavi. Kavi worked for an old farmer. Every day, he carried heavy bags of grain to the market. People laughed at him constantly. "You're slow. You're weak. You'll always be just a donkey." Even the horses mocked him. They were fast. They were admired. They carried kings and warriors. Kavi carried vegetables. Children threw pebbles at him for fun. Traders insulted him when he moved too slowly. Even the farmer often shouted at him. Useless animal. Kavi never fought back. He lowered his head and kept walking, but inside, he was tired. Tired of being seen as weak. Tired of being afraid. Tired of feeling small. Every night, he stared at the stars and wondered, will I always live like this? One afternoon, the farmer loaded Kavi with sacks heavier than usual. The sun was burning, the road was long, and halfway to the market, the ropes snapped. The bags fell into the mud. Grains spilled everywhere. The farmer became furious. "You worthless creature." He beat Kavi with a stick in front of everyone. People watched. Some laughed. No one helped. That moment broke something inside Kavi. That night, instead of returning home after work, he walked toward the forest, alone, without direction, without hope, without caring what happened next. Rain clouds gathered above him. Thunder echoed in the sky. The deeper he walked, the darker the forest became. Birds stopped singing. The wind grew cold. And then, he heard it. A roar. A terrifying roar that shook the trees. Kavi froze. Every animal in the forest ran for safety. Monkeys climbed trees. Deer sprinted away. Birds flew into the sky. And from the shadows, a lion emerged. Massive, scarred, hungry. Its golden eyes locked onto Kavi. The lion smiled. "Well, dinner walk to me today." Kavi's legs trembled. His heart pounded like a drum. He wanted to run, but his body wouldn't move. The lion stepped closer. Slowly, confidently. "You look terrified," the lion said. Kavi could barely speak. Please, don't eat me." The lion laughed loudly. "Why shouldn't I? You are weak. You are slow. And you smell like fear." Those words hit Kavi harder than anything, because that's what everyone had always told him. Weak, slow, worthless, fearful. For the first time, Kavi realized his biggest enemy wasn't the lion. It was the voice inside his own head, the voice built by years of humiliation, years of fear, years of believing he was nothing. The lion moved closer, just one step away. "This is your final moment," the lion whispered. "Run if you want. Beg if you want. It changes nothing." Kavi closed his eyes, and suddenly, he remembered something. Years ago, an old turtle near the village pond had once told him, when fear sees panic, it attacks. But when fear sees calmness, it becomes confused. At the time, Kavi ignored those words. Now, they were all he had left. He took one deep breath, then another, and another. His shaking slowly began to stop. The lion looked confused. "Why are you smiling?" Kavi opened his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he looked directly at fear, without lowering his head, without begging, without running. And then he said something that made the lion stop walking. "You should be afraid of me." The lion burst into laughter, but only for a moment, because Kavi's face remained completely calm. No panic, no tears, no begging, just silence and confidence. The lion narrowed his eyes. "What game are you playing?" Kavi took one slow step forward, then said, "I've already eaten 2 lions today." The forest went silent. The lion stared at him. Then everything changed. The lion stepped back. For the first time in years, fear entered his eyes. Then he growled, "Liar." Kavi remained calm. "If you don't believe me," he said softly, "come closer and look inside my mouth." The lion hesitated. He had hunted hundreds of animals, and every single one reacted the same way. They cried, they ran, they begged. But this donkey, he looked certain, and certainty is terrifying when your opponent is afraid of nothing. The lion circled Kavi slowly, trying to detect weakness, trying to smell panic. But Kavi controlled his breathing, even though his heart felt like it would explode. The lion leaned closer. Kavi suddenly opened his mouth wide and let out the loudest donkey scream of his life. The sound echoed violently through the forest. The lion jumped back in shock. At that exact moment, lightning flashed across the sky, and the lion saw his own reflection in Kavi's wide, rain-covered eyes. For one terrifying second, the lion thought he saw another lion trapped inside. His fear took over, and fear makes even kings irrational. The lion turned and ran. Fast. Branches snapped, birds flew away. The so-called king of the jungle disappeared into darkness. Kavi stood frozen. He couldn't believe it. He was alive, not because he was stronger, not because he was faster, but because he stayed calm long enough to think. He looked at the sky and laughed for the first time in years. The next morning, the lion returned to his cave, trembling. Other animals stared in confusion. A wolf asked, "What happened to you?" The lion whispered, "There's a monster donkey in the forest." The animals laughed, but the lion was deadly serious. I looked into its eyes. I saw death. News spread quickly through the jungle. Soon, even the villagers heard the story. The lion ran from a donkey. Nobody believed it, until hunters found giant lion footprints running away from the exact place Kavi stood. Suddenly, the donkey everyone mocked became the animal everyone talked about. When Kavi returned to the village, the same people who insulted him stared in disbelief. Children stopped throwing stones. The horses stayed quiet. The traders whispered. Even the farmer looked stunned. "You survived the lion?" Kavi simply nodded. The farmer asked, "How did you defeat him?" Kavi looked at him calmly and said, "I defeated myself first." The farmer didn't understand. But Kavi continued, "For years, I believed what everyone said about me. That I was weak, that I was useless, that fear should control me. But fear grows when you run from it, and it shrinks when you face it calmly." The farmer stood silent. For the first time, he looked ashamed. He apologized to Kavi, and from that day forward, he treated him with kindness. But the biggest transformation happened inside Kavi. He no longer lowered his head. He no longer feared opinions. He no longer panicked during difficult moments. And whenever young animals came to him asking how to be brave, he would smile and say, "Confidence is not loud. It does not scream. It does not show off. Real confidence is staying calm when life tries to scare you. Because fear is often like that lion. It looks powerful. It sounds powerful. But many times, it wins only because you panic. The moment you stay calm, fear begins losing control over you. So the next time life scares you, an exam, rejection, public speaking, failure, remember the donkey. Stay calm, think clearly, and never let fear smell panic. Because sometimes, calmness is the loudest form of confidence. If this story inspired you, share it with someone battling fear, and subscribe to Inner Rise Daily for more powerful, life-changing stories.